Well, welcome to the second half of our program today. We have two prominent filmmakers with us today who are also choreographers, and they will be presenting a lecture performance in here, and then we'll have the two film screenings afterwards in the cinema. First of all, we have Wenguang, who I already mentioned was recognized as the founder of the Chinese independent documentary scene, also known as the New Documentary Movement now. He is a filmmaker, freelance writer, creator, and producer of dance and theater since 1988. And he's well known for his documentary films such as Bumming in Beijing and Fuck Cinema, which deal with the topic of struggling independent artists. In 2005, Wu co-founded the independent art space Interarts Workshop with dancer and choreographer Wenguang. And it's fostered major ongoing documentary theater or oral history projects. For instance, the Village Documentary Project and the Folk Memory Project of China's Great Famine, which occurred from 1958 to 1961. For the Folk Memory Project, Wenguang and resident artists of Interarts Workshop, such as Zhang Mengqi, who's with us today, returned to their ancestral villages to ask their grandparents and villagers to talk about the Great Famine that occurred in China. This event is not in the collective cultural memory, as it is attributed to failed farming policies introduced by then communist leader Mao Zedong. Since the workstation's inception, there are over 200 resident participants. I think you have the exact number here now. 216 participants going back to their villages for interviews, with 1,480 interviewees coming from 22 provinces and 322 villages. The interview topics now range from the famine, the 3-year famine, the Great Leap Forward, the land reform, and the Cultural Revolution across different historical periods. This project is a trial in creating folk memory archives, and in this case, this is a performance of the Folk Memory Project and interviews that you had with villagers in one of the or several villages, I think, for this performance, isn't it? So since 2010 to 2018, to follow with the Memory Project, there are over 56 films produced by 20 filmmakers. And I believe your archive is at Duke University at the moment. I saw your coat today, wearing it proudly, the Duke University coat. Yes, so this is a great privilege and honor to have you guys here today, not just showing us your films, but also performing for us. Without further ado, I welcome you to the, what's it called, Knocking on Memory's Door with the video camera. And the Art of Unforgetting Folk Memory Project. Thank you, guys.
抵抗遗愿，民间记忆计划。饥饿历史。 返回自己的村子。采反饥饿记忆。
这个让你搁这坐一旁不容易。
杨氏古旧的时候，那个时候有过钉子吗？
啊，有过钉子吗？那是过钉子吗？
我把的有过钉子吗？我把的 哪里？
我过呢，我都是嘛，我都是嘛，我都是嘛，
我就问，
我都是，我都是，别吃嘞，
那不中吗？不中啊，记得听着咱们呀。
那是有没有吃的？
啊？
那是有没有吃的？
有吃的。
哦，
没有吃的。
我听的，我听的。
我就呢。
哦，你想啊？
我就这有吃的。
哦。
那哪记得什么上面的？那我就这哪
小号。
那就亲那把几条嘛。
你这把吃来啥的？
那我就这
那都是
哪记得？
伢你们找的。
那是锅头。
那是锅头是啊。
哦。
那我这吃吧，吃吧。
原来不是
这我都是。
我叫说哈，你叫说哈，你说哈是以前的事儿。
啊？
说哈以前的事儿。
说那年把的事儿。
那年把。
以前是啥？
哦，那年把我都的事儿。
那以前的事儿那上不了。
上不了。
那年我吃的有亏。
你说。
那年我吃的有亏哟，那吃亏有对不对？
他说他想他的小不差，
你说。
啊？
我说你说。
知道吧？
我说你说哈。
跟我说哈。
哦，你说哈那是事儿。
我说的咋？
哦。哦，对。
那是我就是我吃吧，吃糠。那糠吃活人吃了好一阵儿，那没那我吃的，那我吃亏，那我有那个病的，然后真吃亏，那要是真放心，是吧？那我吃的有亏，就是我那些我媳妇过世的。
还是3个空4两一块。
哦，那我修的，
你不然
我过的，我修的，农民的，真就是这个3年，就是我媳妇过世的，
现在是属。
那真老钱。
是。
我有钱要是拿都老是给。
怎么今天我穿你衣不起，我吃你衣不起。
这我就自己吃过这几人嘛。
我老婆是那去上的空给他办法，那个娃啥松给，那从小啥松时候一起的靠了熬倒的嘛拿笔来拿来吃皮。
这一个半你喝着看着那树上那水鱼都这。
然后我要是也同时也
这还有，
要是这些吃树皮，吃枇杷皮，
这上面是粮食的是烤麻油，
葱油，
当然我这狼头和多塞的吃狼皮，
吃狼皮，狼皮还好点，狼皮是活的，羊水油。
他现在那的狼水那好倒饭的没，我们人。
那年，那树上都没的那把没的皮筋挑白白肉骨头。
啥的油？
俺凭啥油都吃过？
这还喷水，
上说那啥水都说油也没吃，
还有这流水油。
是的敢吃着呀。这后来都吃了。
初二头是年的吃了。
鸡包也吃过，俺的兄弟，我的吃不就让跟那树底下吃椒泥巴。
这老头子这人也就馋这个。
饱汉子不知饿汉子饥，吃嘛不知不行哩。
就是这不饱，哎呀，我娘！
死，
种，咱这里种真大，腿都种的，都饿死了。
啊，吃食堂吃的好几年，完事儿了，俺来累。
我自己多人弄。
我爸那年我都自己没点累，我的就是人民，就是都4点，一天抬2年。
俺我是好几口子人啊，
俺家里4口子。
俺这个我是我真有
我这摸的好，我是让张姐似的，我的我弟，他是50的，
是的，我是真爱吃。
山上还没有50的，都是50的。
俺大小11的，我啥？
我这个我是50块。
我这2个几儿也是，我到过的我儿2个几儿也是50的。
我的就是那当真是50的。
我2个是50。
那大奶奶是，
位置是丢了的，火车站死的，2岁公交，
回来车都50。
要算要50。
俺那有病，你顾不上来都是饿死。
没有，那些都是火车站死的。
俺老人家死的，奶奶死的。
下班还有门儿是50的，
拍摄纪录片。
其实不知道该去那位老人家里面去。 你要是我这片子在北京和深圳放了，老多人也都喜欢，也有啥的。你们就是以后片子上面放的时候，你们有啥对啊？
实事求是。这个说的。
上国外放的时候呢？上国外放的时候呢？
他对这老子没用的，老头子没用的，咱老人家都怕的。一点
对中国不好。
2010年夏天，我参加了个计划，叫民间记忆计划。是一会儿上北京上课的时候，偶然的时间听说了这个计划，后来我就误打误撞的加入了这个计划。这计划主要是拍摄一些关于民间一些老人的回忆，真实的记录下来。我说我设定的来还行。
哎呀，我是这时候我是说我，有两目就上，有我说这人都那死了屋里，俩着屋里了，然后抬掉没我。
抬不动了，都抬不动了。
老人，你说这个实在是，你正常人啊，你说你不是来小我说，你走走，你正常，你这么一有真是。这一年某日今天那节头，这是呢，这次我那时候来了，你养了，这么没劲。 啊。
哦，
你做过东西我是不弄。
我弄过。
有政治问题啊，这会儿嘛。
嗯。
人这一生有很多梦想，每个阶段都有不同的梦想。我下来的梦想就是1960年人我设的那些张老村的村民是一块碑。我希望这些因饥而死的张老村村民在九泉之下能够得到安息。我也希望在这墓碑上面能够盖上一块红布，直到有一天大风把红布刮走，那时候我觉着他们的灵魂就有了归宿。
我们讲了有一顿我是我来讲了那个是白弄弄的哈，是鼓的黄黄的双的啊，听怎么样？我说我来打糊吃，那和尚吃的呀吃不得，吃了我个妹儿我那糊我那昂满脸的昂，我管着剥，我锥子慢慢剥。那一年我们那一年去59年、58年、59年、60年那个3年都没过得好日子。我4万多人。
不是，因为我找人嘛修课是吧？59年50人嘛，是吧？怎么那个这东西少让一些人，这是管教有了我的。
剧场回忆饥饿。
好，这一次这一次好不好啊？我们要这一届跟你们的回家往下去从你们在不同村子里面的声音，我们都听到了。不要把他们，但是不要评论，不要讲。知道人家的一句话能够说完。
我叫张梦琪，我出生于1987年。我从9岁就开始学习舞蹈。我小时候有一个梦想，就是当一名舞蹈家。
补充，我第一次知道我爷爷的名字叫贾富奎。
补充，我第一次在村子里待这么长时间。
补充，罗胜英说他是饿不死的那个。
补充，2010年我第一次回到自己的村子采访老人。
补充，我第一次知道我爷爷的名字叫丁明发。
补充，我第一次走进这家老人。
补充，我第一次在村子里待这么长时间。
把我的弟弟妹妹抬出去埋了。第二天早上，我牵着一条牛，去黄牛到山边，看到那坟地里有一座小小的新坟，我知道这是谁。我伏在那坟地上嚎啕大哭，我的妹妹啊，你死去像一口糖水中流的了。
每年持续回村。
好嘞。
我叫刘一杰，今年13岁，上5年级。我叫邹如意，今年12岁，上5年级。我叫邹若，今年11岁，上5年级。我叫李璐，今年11岁，上3年级。哎，老哥，我问你，
老奶奶，就是俺小姑啊，我是铁主任他孙女啊。
你是铁主任的孙女吧？
啊，我新结的闺女，我叫如意啊。
哦。
就我小姑，就是想为咱村里1959年到61年饿死人啊。我小姑啊，想为咱村里1959年到61年饿死那些人啊立个碑。他要统计统计那些信息。俺今天来了就是问问你家有饿死人不？那3年里头。
有，俺爹俺娘的都是那的，死的那的，就不我说的那的。
哦。那他叫啥名啊？
俺爹那吃嘛。死的那个嘛。叫周生林。俺娘老那我还忘了嘞，他是个外人。
年龄我这60多，逝世58年，属相属狗的，还有一个吧。
我一会儿说了啊，爹。往后走，往后走。
都看着呢的啊。这一户就住俺村的纪念了，你们也是纪念，这个碑也是纪念，一块作为住俺村的纪念反正是，作为住俺村历史，
1959年至1961年，3名饥荒期间，本村共110人，110人。 户110户460人，让我投诉控制，仍有14人因饥饿去世。
是。
接着，这个人这活了59年。
59岁。
你们认不认识我啊？
你姐姐呢？
我姐姐去打工去了。
去打工了。
1、2、3、1、2、3、1、
对，也要看你拍的是什么地方。比如说，现在你要拍那个墙上有一块砖，你看，墙上那块砖头。
奶奶，我们刚一个叫奶青老人姐姐。
非常好，出来了。按照你的方式来画，没事儿。
那种真实感。
对。
好了。我冷了没有哎？
画的不好。哇，好好看！好，继续画，画多一点颜色。好了吗？站好了，好，谁先？好，你哥哥介绍吧。
从他开始，然后再我他，我哥他。
好的。好，高红来安排。 my whole life before 21 years old is all about dancing. So after the university, I joined a theater group, which they create performance in Chaochangji Workstation. So I first time to see this strange and amazing station. I watched the first time I watched a documentary film in the Chaochangji Workstation, and also a lot of performance in there. So Mr. Wu think maybe I'm a good dancer, so he invited me to join the living dance. So I become the dancer in the group.
It's called the Living Dance Studio,
yes,
right? Originally.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And then you evolved into filmmaking.
Yes.
From there, as
yes.
a dancer to filmmaking.
Yes.
And what made you think that you wanted to start filming? And which village did you go to specifically?
Before I joined before the memory project, I making my first piece. It also self-portrait with 3 women. It's about my own history about my mother and my grandmother. Because I want making piece. Performance, I make a performance piece first, then I make second one, and I think maybe I can use camera to find more things about this relationship, different generation. So I start to making this film. So when I make this film, the memory project start in 2010. So I went back to my father's village. So it's also, I found my mother's background, and I want to see how is my father's village. So I go to my father's village.
So that's the village that you're filming at?
Yes.
And now how many films do you have?
Now I just finished the eighth film.
Eighth film.
Yes.
And it's evolved in really interesting ways. Definitely. And how was it that I know I kind of introduced it with the Chaochangji Workstation and how that began. Could you maybe just give us a little bit more information about how that started? Because you all co-founded it with Wenguang, right? And then how it evolved into the Folk Memory Project.
When we started the memory project, for my personal work, I feel there is a big problem because I lost my energy, motivation. So when I went back to the ending of 18th, I knew I want to make my peace. I want to be out of the system. I want to do something special. Even I didn't know anything about documentary film, but I just want to make something special. I don't want to be spend my normal life with TV station. So I left the TV station. I went to the Beijing in 1988. But after 20 years, I was a kind of the famous filmmaker or artist in China. So I lost my energy. I lost my even I didn't know who am I. I always question myself. I just need to keep the position I have right now. I just show my face to someone. I just go to the microphone to speak something. That's my life. So, of course, I thought it's my life, but I had no idea to how to going on. I think it is a very the common problem for the Chinese artist, for writer, performer, art director, or the painter. They lost the energy after middle age. Maybe it's easy for them to quickly be famous, to get everything they want, including money. So the young people, young artists, like the Mengqi or some of the students after school, they came to the Chaochangji, asked the question, how I'm making my first piece or second piece. So the same question to both of us, for me, old generation, for young generation. So we all lost the how we can make our piece. I mean, piece is not just for film production, to making money or to working for the proposal or something. We want to do our very free works. So what means free? It means we have to ask what piece we want to do. So the question for us, also for myself, is why we are making the piece. For example, for documentary film. So meanwhile, we had a very busy hard discussion about the Chinese history. Some of the foreign artists or the white filmmakers came to Chaochanti, gave the workshop. They asked some question about history and memory, but we were silent. We didn't know how to give the answer, reply this question. For young generation, also they had no idea about the Cultural Revolution, or before the Cultural Revolution, the Great Farming, even for the not far away, like June 4, Tiananmen Square. It's for young people the field is very strange, or just a few keywords, and not any detail about it. Of course, I know the June 4, Tiananmen Square. I went there, I watched something, but for Cultural Revolution, I was 10 years old. The Cultural Revolution started. But when we're back to think about the Cultural Revolution, I think that I lost my memory. Even for the Great Farming, land reform, this is the history after 1949. It's empty for my generation, also of course for next generation, for next generation. For my father's generation, there was sky to speak something about it. So they're always silence. So this is the situation for Chinese people, how we deal with the history and memory. So we had this idea we don't know anything about the memory and history. We don't know what's the work we're working for the film or for theater. But we can making our first step to go back to the village. The village is where you are coming from, or you are belong to your family. Not just choose, okay, I go to the Hebei, I go to the Shandong. No, you have to go to your own village. For example, the village I went back to I was the farmer, the 知识青年, in the middle of 1970. So this village I chose to go back. And the second village I went back to is Sichuan, is my father's village. But after 1949, he left the village and never back to the village because he had the very terrible memory for the village. But I am back, so for this interview. So when we have this activity, I think something is happening. So it gives us a good lessons. Okay, forget about the discussion, forget about art, forget about the how to make it a good piece. Just making your step on the way. So we call we are on the way because we are hungry. Hungry for what? For memory, for history. So memory about hungry is for the last generation. It's about here, last part. For us, it's an up part. And the second year of it, okay, we got a good thing, we have to continue. So before, in the beginning, we had no idea for the project. And even we call this without any funding. We call it we are zero budget. Forget about the money, just we have to do something we can. So that's right now.
And then it's evolved through this word of mouth. Basically, other people hear about your workstation, and then they come in and they want to then go to their villages where their parents, maybe where you didn't grow up in your father's village. That was your father's village. You didn't grow up in your father's village as well because he left. And you're going to be talking about that in your film, Investigating My Father as well, right?
Yeah, someone is had the. We call it we everyone choose what's the topic, what's the subject they want to make for film, for theater. So Mengqi is the film is about her story in the village. My film is about how I went back to the to search what's the story between me and the father. So
sorry about this technical issue here.
Of course, I was very thank you for this project to send me for the artwork.
Oh,
even without this project, I think that I just do some of the normal thing, waiting for Nazri 10, enjoying the Western lamp I have. But no, I'm a new person. Every year, I working with the young filmmaker with my new piece. So I was really totally young.
It helped you revitalize ways of thinking about what to do with the project. Yeah, when you bring in new minds, new ways of thinking about it. And new technology, of course, as well, because your work has evolved quite a bit because of the technology, I think. Yes. Based on the first one I saw years ago. Yes. Definitely. I was wondering maybe if we could talk a little bit about the performance and the use of the torches. Maybe you could give us more information about what you mean by the torches. The flashlights.
Yes. This, I don't know. I was curious about the audience thinking, because for us, we just think we want beyond the theater, the black box. We want to bring the performance can happen everywhere. We bring the performance going to the screening. After the screening, we go to the classroom.
Also village.
Also village. Also some bookstore or something. So we can use the torch for the performance everywhere.
Yeah,
So
there's a practical use for sure,
yes.
Definitely.
But for the meaning, in the beginning, it's like we always said we like a person going to the dark history, and we need light from our body to lighting the darkness, something like that.
Yeah, when I was watching it, it reminded me of some of the things that this word that keeps circulating around today, which is digging. Digging, and it when I was watching it with the torches of the group of people, it was like they were miners underground digging, searching. I think there's a quote about digging deep. I can't remember what it is exactly, but just gonna say the remote control went missing, so that's the problem.
I'm just trying to switch off.
It wasn't us, it was somebody else. But it went missing, so we have to go on a chair to turn that off.
You want me to do that?
Or you can maybe close the screen.
Yeah, let's switch off. No, don't worry. You should put this on.
Shall I do that?
Yes, do it. Let's do it. So just press the power button.
Yeah.
And then it should turn off.
Because the computer is off now.
Powering down. Press to confirm.
Press to confirm.
That's good now, I think.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Okay.
What a nightmare.
No longer blinded by the blue
I'm
light.
so sorry to disturb you.
Oh, sorry. Thanks for trying to work it out. Yeah, so it reminded me of that, the digging underground and like a miner looking for, the resources, mineral sources. Maybe could you tell me a little bit how your dance practice has come into play with these performances, and how maybe this, before you came onto it, maybe they were doing separate things, and what you brought to the project when it came to performance because of your dance background?
Follow this question.
Because of your dance background, I'm just wondering if there's something that you brought new to the project, because you were talking about how people coming in were sort of revitalizing your ideas about the project.
we do the performance rehearsals as a group. We don't have a director, right? We don't have director. We only have the 构思.
You only have the idea.
Yeah, he's the 构思, the idea, and everyone is the choreographer.
Yeah, I believe it reminds me of another independent filmmaker, Li Ning. Did he take part at the Changdi workstation? He made the film tape.
Yes.
And there's something about the way you guys work with no director, and you go with an idea, and that was sort of the way he works too, with the camera and with his participants. Was he part of the workstation?
No.
Li Ning?
He just bring his work for another workshop to show in the film.
The Li Ling he was the participant of the young theater project that we had.
Yes.
It's like the Mengqi.
Right.
So we give the chance or space to young artists like the Li Ling. Also, Li Ling's peer film is in our workshop in Chaozhangdi. We give the discussion. I remember I wrote it's a long article about his film after he finished.
Yeah.
So I saw that his film is the 2 hours version, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, different version.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, the film itself is a mosaic.
Like the artist Li Ling, there are many artists like the Li Ling around the Chaozhangdi workstation since we had this space in 2005. But just the few people like the Mengqi involved in this project. Also, we had the residence artists give to the young students after the school. So the Chaozhangdi, I think, is a very we really like the Intermidia. We see everything it could be part of the material for the artwork, we used to call the art first use your body. Body is the first media for us because it's from your life, from your feeling. So all of the people in the Chaozhangdi workstation, we give the body not a training. We just give the very basic training, and then we ask everyone to use your body free. So more in training about the improvisation. Also, we do a lot of the games about the body. Just to take show your body, press your body, and you become another person. For Chinese, always very close with the clothes. But when you take our clothes off, you feel that you are very laker. Laker here is your. For me, it's I never got the study from the film, arts, and nothing about it. I just from the 中文系 So the 1978, I got the 中文系 Chinese they call it Chinese literature, but I called it the 中国秘书系 That's just to do some official job. So it's a very terrible study for me.
What is it? Oh, it's on surface it's called the Chinese degree, the Chinese language degree, but in actual fact, Director Wu wants to say that it is actually Chinese secretarial degree instead, because it serves a bureaucratic function instead of studying Chinese literature.
Because half of my classmate was the official. They got someone in the high position. So after the university, I think I got a job in television. It's a very terrible job, just for propaganda. 1980s. Later, it's more commercial. It's a lot of terrible thing. So before the commercial things coming, I left the television, became to be freelance in Beijing. I learned how to I think a lot to be. I think the artist could be everyone, but just you first thing you are free. So I'm making myself more free and free. So I closed the film and theater, dance, or writing. So first we got the different media together. But the first thing that I respect very much about the body. I think that if we body liberates, everything is okay. You can do everything. And then you have the more, what's called the multimedia.
There's something about, okay, with performance, it's an impermanent medium, and historical memory is well. I'm wondering if maybe, is performance an ideal medium to be working with historical memory, do you think? And how does that work with the archival material that you've collected in your films?
Yeah, we used to use documentary. I like the kind of things in Germany theater called documentary theater. Documentary theater, of course, they have the different style, the way, idea, but for me, I understand it's about how to use the real material for your works, for film, for your theater, for your writing. So we like this word, the non-fiction. Non-fiction is a very English word. Non-fiction.
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 Yeah.
In Chinese, we don't have this word. 非虚构. Now someone is said as a 非虚构, non-fiction. But non-fiction means you have to look, care, focus the real material, and use that become your works. So and then you have your real material, how to construct this material become your building. This was called the fiction work, imagination work. So where workshop is first go to your real material. And after you have the real material, and come back to the station, we'll have the workshop to think about what's your core of your works. Core, C-O-R-E. So this means there is more thinking, imagination. Forget about a documentary. I hate documentary film. Because documentary film, it's just press some the bad story, very sad story, sad people, including for Chinese. Yeah. BBC people is go to the China, just look at oh, this good subject. NHK people, oh, good subject. That's what documentary. Not documentary like the Fritz Weisman. Forget about that. People just look at the subject, because subject can take people coming to the watch TV. But so in our project, we are used to discussing more what's your personal works. Forget about the TV, cinema, market, including the festival. We don't care about any festival, because of festival we have in our festival. So and then you are really breathe, free, relax. Even you don't have any cold money, but you can do something you like. I had the very latest film, just finished last year, means called Struggle. It's my story. I had the premiere in the Newcastle. It's a premiere, so I first watched the film with people. Before it's just a premiere in the Duke in the fall in October, but they asked me to screening. So I watched the movie. When I'm working with the movie, nobody can bother me, influence me. I'm just a king for this film. I don't care about it, because a lot of people gave me money, or gave me some the portment about the festival. So it's just myself. But after screening, I was nervous with the people. I'm really interested into what they are thinking about. So after screening, I feel very strange. I feel that, who did this movie? Me? Really? Yeah. But it's a strange movie. And I had a very good discussion with the professor of some filmmaker from the Newcastle. One professor who teaching the production in the film, he said, this film is really free. And I said, okay, I got my good model the last 2 years ago. I just watched the Jala's movie, Blue, from the UK. Oh, I was surprised. UK can have this artist in 20 years ago. So, Jala can do movie like this. Of course, I follow him. But of course, I not follow him to be dead. I just follow him.
Should we open up the floor to questions? I'm sure there's tons of questions. I think Stephanie had one just first. Yeah.
But I suppose it was just really, first of all, to congratulate you because that was amazing. But also, I just find it very interesting that this is starting in 2008 because I was talking about Dohong earlier, and you're talking about digging and digging, which is where he starts as well. And it's a very similar process of working with young artists and getting them to go out and find a story. And his own story was working with a friend stark naked, so he painted his friend naked. So he was also following on the same plane as you, thinking about how is he going to find a way of really reaching this idea of history. So what was it about 2008, I think is my question. Why were these senior artists like yourself, like Dahong, possibly like Gungming, going and working with farmers, which he was doing to create the farmer posters. What was it about that year that was provoking this kind of move into collaborative digging?
就是这样，是什么让你们有这个结合表演和拍片的想法？是什么启发让你们有这个结合两个元素的想法？听到是另外一个问题。
我可以试着翻译吗？
对，
就是说，叶飞老师指出来一点，就是说，在2008年左右，有一批的电影人，还有一批的艺术家，都是共同探讨，然后对民间记忆的这样的发掘。他们不但是个人对这段历史的发掘，还同比如说村民啊或者普通老百姓一起来进行这样的发掘工作。那么是什么样的一个原因导致这样的现象产生？在2008年左右。
For my side, I used to have to question myself why I make the piece. Of course, for me, it's I got the medicine by the artwork, film, performance. But what is useful for this my reality, my life? It means it's possible for change the life reality by the artwork. I question it's possible. If the possible, how, where, how we start? Especially in in China, it's the artist is used to be how to say it safely, 自私. I like the artist to be very personal. Very personal angle, personal thinking, but too much selfishness. It's it means it's easy to be in love. So that's why we are. I think that we are working together to think is how to find the power to. Of course, I want to change this country, but it's too hard. But we want to change this village. It's very hard again. And I think it's okay. We cannot change everything, but we can start changing myself. So that's the way where I think that every people is wake up, got energy. we can change ourselves because we don't, how can I say, 满意, we don't 满意这个.
We're not satisfied.
Yeah, for our life, myself. Okay, we start from this. So in the beginning, the 2010, everyone is called we can change. We can try to change ourselves even we don't change the village. Yeah, that's very right. We cannot change the village. Village is too hard to change. It's like change the country. But we can change ourselves even just 5%, 10%. But from this part of percent change, and Mengqi is in the village, her village, and he transferred this power and energy, idea to the young kids. You see the farm home, the girl, from the 8 years old, right? And right now it's about 7 years, and follow her, and a lot of the more young kids when they grow up, 5 years old, 6 years old. So now it's you see the last part the kids, the painter, what's the space in imaginations, and then shoot piece, and then the next part maybe you can see, maybe you see the later is a new building, really building, it's a star. So the Mengqi brand the kids dance with this building. Maybe next year this building is open for village for the young kids. I think this is what we call try to change something, but what's called artwork. I think that this the good thing I got from the Western culture. In Chinese, I don't think that I got something from the how to artwork for the public. So this, I think this, it's the most important reason for me, for myself. But I don't want to say this, talking too much about my situation with the political. Of course, in China, everything is political. But I don't want to be involved with this issue about it. Everything is just political. I'm just a person. Okay. Before we started the project, nobody know how much the dangerous, how much the sensitive. You don't you never try, but you don't know how much. So I want to tell you it's I'm okay right now. I don't think that I have a big problem because we just very interested in the memory, but we don't want to be the how to say it is against something. Oh, memory is good. Government is very bad. We try to build something before the 反对, right? Against.
Opposition.
Yeah, Chinese is we used to against the fighting, struggle, always in front of the governments, face to the governments. This is the Chinese political thing. Nobody talking about to try to do something, to building something. For example, if China, we have democracy, like the UK, like the American, we can choose any leader we want. Democracy is coming, freedom for everyone, like the Burma now. But how we are to deal with this situation right now? We lost the tradition, we lost the history, we lost even for the elements, 环境. Even for the water, it's not safe for the people drink. So I think it's much better that we start to do something before or too much against too much the fighting. So the thing is, for my life, I'm more and more far away from the friend circle I was be or social work. So I just very careful about the one person's whole history and the one village life, like the Mengqi, and the new person is coming, bring his village. So in the Newcastle, we had this issues of how to deal with the 反对 and 建设.
Opposition and construction.
But the people don't understand me, or maybe not agree with me. They said in China, 反对 is very important. 斗争 very important. Even these people is said this. They said that my children is younger than me in many years. I was the very typical person for the Mao age. I was very 斗争 people. I was the one of the 红卫兵. I know how to do 斗争, how to do 反对. Like the film is from the typical from the Hu Jie's movie. Yeah, the Cultural Revolution. The red guard is how to including this post and door. You know, I understand this post a lot from the 红卫兵, from the label, maybe from the Layfield. Very close people. You know, it's how terrible. The 斗争 and the 反对 is educate people, training people, became another animal. So now I want to try to learn how to be building people. Right? This English word?
Yeah.
Building. A lot of building people. People with the building. To know how to build it. Like from the memory, it's the first work. Also the stand with the young kids in the village.
When the children ask their grandparents, how did you survive the starvation in the late 50s, early 60s? How many people died? And they spell the names of those who died, sister, father, children, parents. Don't the children ask, why was there famine in those days? What happened? Because that's where politics emerged, and then you need to know the reason, and you instinctively get revolted by that situation. You get angry with what happened. I got very angry just watching your film with the situation that so many people had to die for no reason at all. It was just a waste of life, for bad administration, for the fact that there was no food for them to eat. So they had to eat the bark of the trees, the leaves of cotton and so on, and then they died. They didn't survive. So it is something that stirs up anger in you. You don't look at this and you see, let's look forward and build something. You do think about that, but you also bear a grudge against those who caused that disaster in the first place. So perhaps those two things are not too far apart. Maybe they are dependent on each other. Those two elements that you spelled out, to be counter, opposition, and building for the future. I think they are quite entwined. I don't know what.
Well, I think it's because I've done work with older people as well, and you get a very mixed response, don't you? You get sad stories. You also get very, because it's someone's life. So someone's life isn't actually all about the 2 years or the 3 years, although that could be a particularly bloody horrible part of it. And a lot of it's about. So it's sort of paying respect to the whole of someone's life, so the ups and the downs as well. So I think the lady in your film says, or I can't remember whose film, but it says, every day in those 3 years was, it's just awful. But she doesn't say anything about the rest of her life, what that was like, and that's probably been quite various. I mean, village life is hard, but maybe it's been various. So I think there's that. But there's also, they're all dead. Mao's dead, and the Gang of Four are dead. Not that the Gang of Four did that was a economic decision, so it wasn't them. But yeah, all these guys are dead now. So in a way, it's you're 2 generations down. So in the leadership.
You see how those elderly people are scared of talking about it.
Well, the kids are scared.
The kids are scared. But the kids aren't just scared. I mean, it is also a genuine thing. I'm sorry, I'm getting all like a 7-year-old child with a red thing now. But it's just, there is also that thing that, do you want to, there is a quite shared understanding that you don't necessarily want to talk about China in negative ways outside of China's borders.
This whole project is to dig out the memory, as Tamara was saying. Write the names on a stone.
Yeah, and it is, but the things that they were scared of wasn't so much telling the stories. I mean, a couple of the guys were going, this is political, be careful, and you could see that kind of lead back to somebody remembering something. But most of the negativity I heard was about, I don't want to talk about this outside China.
It's okay in China.
Yeah.
So like, don't air your dirty laundry, right? That kind of thing.
So it's much more about the image of China.
But at the same time, it's not on textbooks. People don't talk about it in China much.
No, they don't.
And then they have other ways of reading the whole episode, as we know. There was a natural disaster, pest, whatever. The weather wasn't very good that year. You know, people explain it like that.
Yeah,
and
bad harvest.
Bad harvest. People explain it like, those provinces were very populated, so 30 million people died. But you know, there's I don't know how many million in China. So they're always trying to, if they speak about it, trying to. That's my impression.
Yeah, no,
I'm
you're
sorry.
absolutely right.
So I think in a way, you know,
this project that I didn't hear from very much from the film that people were saying you shouldn't talk about it. I think they were all saying you should talk about it, apart from one old man. And then there was, but the argument drew up between the children and between the older people in one film when the question was asked, can we show this film outside China? That was when they got particularly no.
Do you think people talk about this inside China?
No, not particularly, no. But I mean, there's been a couple of books that people have read.
Should we ask the filmmakers?
Yes. Do people talk about the Great Famine in China?
No.
Why?
Not. That's a good question. People from the outside used to say that, okay, it's the government to stop the people talking about it. So it became the very sensitive issue. Okay, this was the earlier, before. But right now, government actually, they don't care about it. You are talking about the Great Famine, even for land reform. Not too much the sensitive. They really care about right now. They care about the Wenguang, You know Wenguang? Yeah. It's very challenging. How to say it in English?
Stability maintenance.
Just for every the official just looking for the how much here. It's okay. Okay, it's okay. Not my problem. Okay, I don't forget about it. So it's a very realistic for the people. You are talking about so just big issue, very serious issues. People not interested in talking about it before.
But why?
So this is the question for me. Why we are lost interesting about the memory about the history? We are talking about history is about a hero, about a big guy, big person, not an ordinary people. Yeah. Not about that, because it's basically for the Great Famine. Suffering people had big problem, had low food for stomach, just by the lower people in the village. For city people, they are okay. So like my family, they have the food. Even the food is not good, it's limited, but they still have the food. But for village people, if the food is finished or food is sent to the city of governments, then nothing. So it's a whole channel, whole people is everywhere, from north to the west, to south to the east. It's village people is very suffering. So after that, the people talking about the what's happened before, and for the Yupai, right side of Cultural Revolution, the problem for the people is the city people. They are educated people. They know they have the channel to speak. They can writing, they speak people. They have the radio. They can make in the film like me. I ready to make a film about my father. But the person like the samurai in the village, he had nothing how to make the film about his father. So for the village people, is ordinary people, they have nothing about resource, including information, the low education. So, and one generation, the people used to be forgetting people. That's what's terrible thing. So that's called the Chinese people. We don't know who are. People like you are very clean know who are you. You have the very clean the land from the before in the Sicily and the Sambolo and the people.
Yeah.
They're talking about what's happened before, even just 300, 400, 500 years, but everything is clean. But China, for example, my city in Kunming, I cannot find the building the 20, 30 years ago. Everything in the 18th is finished. So it became the, so what's the we have right now. So for the memory, I think is, I'm not just to be complaining, I just think is how we do something, how we can do, what we can do, even just for very small step, but I can save me. I can sit here discussing with everybody like you, with the emotion meaning.
Yeah, and it has value, these conversations about remembrance, documentation, and again, where you guys are taking this project further, and how you're building an exchange with other communities, not just in these villages, but in your workstation, all the way out here. You know, people probably haven't maybe heard of this project before, and it's absolutely vital for people to continue the conversation, continue the dialogue. And I think maybe one more question.
Just a comment, really. I mean, under the heading or caption, "To come to terms with history," I think it's a fantastic project, and I really appreciate the way that it's formulated and expressed, which is actually, as you say, non-opposition or non-antagonistic, even non-political. But I mean, countries, all nations, it's not just the individuals who have memories or have forgotten, but it's a cultural project, nation cultural project, to come to terms. And one thinks of the examples, of course, of Nazi Germany. We think of apartheid, South Africa, and that process of reconciliation, remembering, forgiving, coming to terms with the history. And I mean, as you mentioned about, we can look back 300 years, 200, and we have a clear line, but we still debate. I mean, we may debate Britain during the war and Churchill's role. We may have different views about that. We still, all the time, trying to come to terms with, and slavery came to my mind again. I mean, it's continuously discussed. We're still confronted all the time with, well, guilt or what was done and how was it done, and some memories, particularly from black people who only 1 or 2 generations ago, their grandparents, great-grandparents, their ancestors were slaves. We're all the time re-examining, and it is all being broadcast and discussed all the time. And that doesn't mean it's finished. That doesn't mean that's jolly good, we're democratic. It's a process, a continuous process, and that does seem to be what's missing, the question of burying memory, pushing it aside and getting on.
Yeah. But there's a major difference, just very quickly. There hasn't been a change of regime in China. So even though people are dead, the Communist Party is still in power and Mao Zedong's culture is still there. So to talk about things like in Brazil, we talk about a dictatorship that doesn't even start to compare with what happened in China, but we talk and talk and talk about it, but there has been a change of regime. So there's that sense of we have to teach children in school about the dictatorship, and that we need to learn about this.
And also
that doesn't happen officially. I mean, there's the individual stories, and there's collective history, and then there's memory, collective memory, individual memory. But there's a narrative, a narrative that is told by a certain government, and they tell a narrative where this thing really didn't exist.
But there's also the thing that we can't make China the exception, because if I'm sitting in England, and yes, there are debates, but children in English schools were only taught about slavery 10 years ago. So it's not about
10 years ago.
Yeah, it's not about English slavery. It's about doing history overseas. So the establishment of the British, the first slavery museum in Liverpool, 2004-5, the London Museum that talked about slavery, 2004-5. It wasn't in the curriculum before that.
And can I remind everybody that the Windrush generation is being treated today as slaves?
Yes, exactly.
So there is a lot to be changed in the behavior of governments here, even if they call themselves democratic. I think there is still a big want in democracy still to be filled in. I hope the historic government is gone, will go soon, but I don't think it's going to be soon, unfortunately. But there is a disgraceful politics towards people who have served the country, worked for the country, and are being mistreated, are being discriminated against. Not least the Chinese, who have a lot of problems to get visas to come to this country, and people from all over the world. So I think democracy is still something in progress.
And just one more example, because it's so current. Like 2 days ago, a British politician was being interviewed, and so this is talking to your project. This was a British politician being interviewed about his new book about the Victorians and
Jacob Rees-Mogg.
But he's talking about a particular general, one of his 12 Victorians, who slaughtered thousands of South Asians, of Indians, and thousands, and was probably responsible for the death of many more in various poor ways around. I don't know what his, whether he caused a famine, I don't know, because I haven't been taught.
It is, that's Gladstone.
No, well, this isn't Gladstone I'm talking about, but it's...
No, I'm talking about Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Yeah, but it's not, this isn't Gladstone's in there, but I think this is another one, who's in the taking of Sing. But I suppose the parallels is that, yes, no, this isn't all happening in one nation state, but it's happening, and it's happening through a distributed way through empire. So although I completely agree with you that this needs to be talked about in China, I think we just need to be very careful not to say that happens in China, it doesn't happen here because we have a change of regime. We've had lots of changes of regime, but we're still not learning about it. I mean, I still don't know.
Yeah. Also, I want to agree with this gentleman in saying that coming to terms or reconciliation is important for everybody's for everyday experiences. For example, when my grandparents were alive, I knew I had an opportunity to ask about their experiences during the Cultural Revolution or Great Famine. I didn't have the courage to do so, partly because they decided actually to move on, and they decided not to recall the past, and they never actually mentioned the past in front of my parents and my generation. So why would I actually conjure up that traumatic memory? So what stories they should tell should be their own decisions rather than our decision. So this is actually also the question that I would like to ask Wu Laoshi and Zhang Laoshi, which is that when you were interviewing when the filmmakers were interviewing the villagers, etc. So do you have any kind of, I don't know, emotional or ethical dilemma about whether telling such stories is a good thing or not?
Yeah, of course, there are a lot of the emotion moments, especially for the women. So we use this interview is all for the women, because I feel it's the woman is the very emotional talking about the memory, especially for the great family about the body memory, we call it. Body memory is never forgettable. So when the mother or the daughter talking about the memory about her family and her children, it's I never read the book, the kind of the memory by writer, by the book or by artwork. It's really the good thing from the people in the village. And very emotional moments is for this. Most of them is there. I think the first time the person came to them to ask about the before. I think it's never happened before. So they used to say that, oh, you are so nice. You came to me with the camera. You are very serious. Because I want to tell something to my child in my family. And you said, too much. You come again. So, and you coming. My interview, one of the interview, she said, I asked after you talking their story, you feel okay? I said, yes. First time I gave my story to the person like you. I feel it is more comfortable. Of course, someone is still be dangerous, be nervous. For example, the person I met, he asked me, "It's okay? Everything's okay? We can talk about this?" I said, "No, it's no problem." But said, "Are you sure? It's okay now?" So this just making me to think is this village is just like the whole, dong. Nothing happened with the outside. Even they can watch the video, TV, and can get every information. Even the internet is coming to the village. But the person like this guy still living with the whole. So this question to me, why? I think it's not just China open to the old world, everything is okay. We still have the problem like the whole. Someone, or even for some of the people have the good education, they're still living with the whole. So my next piece is about the whole in China.
The whole
void.
Like the people in China, they're living in a hole. They don't know what.
In Chinese we call it 中国洞.
So even if you've got wealth and success and all that.
So this is maybe the good solution and the good way for this Chinese people is not just open the door. We have to go back to the door we had before. That's good thing, much better than we are open the door, but new door. We have to go back to old doors.
That's why we're knocking.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
And with that, I'm very sorry, we have to wrap up because the students need this room.
Oh.
And that's why they keep coming in. But thank you